What if I told you that there was a driver so incredibly that his mistakes almost took down the FIA? And no, this isn't a joke or clickbait. This driver didn't just make stupid mistakes like this.
Oh, Latifi in the wall.
Or this one.
That's another Williams, and that is a bigger impact.
But literally turned Formula 1 into a circus, but also somehow turned into a cult figure, worshipped by everyone on the internet. This driver's name will go down in history. We're talking about none other than the GOAT himself.
My name is Latifi.
Truly one of a kind. And we're not just gonna dive into his incredible story, but start comparing and ranking all of these undeserving F1 drivers.
This could be Nicholas Latifi right at the top of the charts. There you go, Nick. Well done.
Nicholas Latifi, or as he's better known, Latifi, was born in Montreal, Canada, the same city as another Formula 1 legend. Latifi followed in his footsteps every step of the way. I mean, he was basically born with the same factory settings as Stroll. Obviously, he was born into a rich family, like really, really rich. His daddy, Michael, is the CEO of companies like Sofina Foods, a big Canadian chain with a net worth of around $3 billion. And his mum, Marilena, comes from the Saputo family, which are worth almost $5 billion themselves. Safe to say money was, has, and never will be an issue for them. So little Latifi had complete freedom on what he wanted to do with his life. So why not try and change motorsports forever? He started karting at 13, which is pretty late, but who cares? He had the money. He knew he would become the best. In karting, he actually won some championships and was pretty competitive, though I have a sneaking suspicion that his kart might have been a bit special compared to the other kids. After 3 years in karting, in 2012, Latifi debuted in single-seaters in Italian F3. He was 11th halfway through his first season, but after switching teams, probably after his dad pulled some strings, his chances shot up, and he even got a win and 2 more podiums, ending 7th in the standings. But that wasn't enough if he wanted to become the greatest driver ever. So after that season, he got really serious, and between 2013 and 2014, he joined pretty much every F3 series out there, plus other random championships, participating in a mind-blowing 110 GPs. And well, racing in basically everything he could, you'd think he'd at least do well in some of it, right? Well, in 110 races, he only got 10 podiums and 4 wins. That doesn't sound too bad, but all his wins and 7 of those podiums were in the Florida Winter Series, a non-championship event put on by Ferrari with lower competition. And to make things worse, in 2014, he raced in European Formula 3 with Prema, one of the top teams, alongside Esteban Ocon. And well, while Ocon was crushing it, Latifi was lacking once again. But hey, this didn't end his career, and the GOAT obviously wasn't going to settle for that. His dad got him a spot in GP2, where he raced 2 rounds to get a taste of what was coming next. That same year, he also jumped into 3 rounds of the Formula Renault 3.5 series, and even grabbed a 2nd place in the final race at Jerez. Not bad, right? Well, Latifi decided to go for the Formula Renault Championship in 2015, but things didn't exactly go as planned. Instead of his on-track results, 2 4th places as his best and finishing 11th overall, he's remembered more for this. To be fair, it wasn't really his fault, but it was a sign of how exciting our boy Nicholas was gonna make things on track. Anyways, that year he also took part in 8 GP2 races and ended up with a grand total of 0 points. But Latifi knew GP2 would be his ticket to F1, so in 2016 he decided to go all in. And with a little cash thrown in, he became Renault's F1 test driver. In 2016, Latifi's first full season in GP2 with Dams, he only racked up 23 points and a single podium, ending up 16th. And even though his car wasn't the best, the fact that his teammate Alex Lynn got 3 wins and finished 6th with 124 points doesn't make Latifi look too good. But you know, he just needed some time, right? Well, in 2017, despite his teammate Oliver Rowland still beating him, Latifi finished 5th in the championship. He snagged his first win and picked up 8 more podiums. Not bad at all, right? In 2018, he continued another year in Formula 2, and just look at his car. See anything different? He had it in 2017 too, but it was much smaller and discreet. How much cash do you think he pumped in just to keep his son around? But anyways, he was now teamed up with Alex Albon. Latifi didn't do all too bad, with a win and 2 more podiums, but he was crushed by his teammate once again, who got several wins and scored a massive 121 points more than him. After 3.5 seasons in Formula 2 without any standout results and consistently being dominated by new teammates, it was pretty clear what kind of driver Latifi was. But even that couldn't bring down the GOAT. Using his daddy's money, he reached out to F1 teams like Force India and Williams. You know what these teams had in common back then? They were both in a serious financial mess. They needed the Canadians' money, but he had to at least prove he had some decent speed to win them over. So Latifi finally got serious in 2019. Yeah, the GOAT finally showed what he was truly capable of. He kicked off the season by leading the championship with 3 early wins.
A dominant performance for Nicholas Latifi, his finest drive by far in Formula 2.
And even though he lost steam and wasn't realistically ever going to win, he still ended up second at the end of the year. It was exactly what he needed. Plus, he'd been the test driver for Williams all year, so something was bound to happen. Finally, the GOAT was where he was meant to be, the place where the whole world would get a front row seat to see what he could do. And just check out the Williams from that season. It was now the moment of truth. How did he do in F1? Did he crush his rivals and start a new era of dominance, boring fans for years to come? To show what he was made of, here's what he did in one of the first free practice sessions of the year in Austria.
Nicholas Latifi, on his first Saturday as a Formula 1 driver, has ended up in the barriers at turn 1 and lost his front wing, as you can see.
Pure skills. In qualifying, he ended up dead last, but the GOAT wasn't giving up and somehow climbed up to 11th place with that slow Williams. And guess how many overtakes he made? None. He just moved up because all these other drivers ended up retiring. In the next qualifying at the Styrian GP, with his teammate George Russell making it into Q2, Latifi was 1.4 seconds slower and couldn't achieve anything better than 17th. However, at the next race in Hungary, Latifi did make it to Q2 for the first and last time that season, only to end up doing this in the race.
Oh dear, that is Nicholas Latifi.
Yeah, it's turned in, looks like quite late into the corner.
In the next race at Silverstone, he qualified dead last, but did manage to climb up to 15th place during the race. Plus, he finally pulled off his first real overtake in F1.
As Nicholas Latifi swoops around the outside of Kimi Räikkönen and takes 50.
We can laugh at Nicholas all we want, but this was clean as and I could go through all his 2020 feats one by one, but that season was mostly about qualifying at the back, way behind Russell, and not doing much in races. But I've gone ahead and made a little compo of his best moments.
Oh, that's how the Williams got a puncture, released into the path of Carlos Sainz.
Oh, Latifi in the wall.
I couldn't see Grosjean. The mirrors are...
It's gone green, and there's a big crash at the back, and that is the Alfa Romeo, and also the Haas of Kevin Magnussen, and we've got another safety car.
On a grid of 20 drivers, Latifi pulled off the impossible. He participated in every Grand Prix that season, yet still finished 21st. Williams, of course, kept Latifi for 2021, even though he performed the same as, if not worse than, in 2020.
Another Williams, and that is a bigger impact, and that's Nicholas Latifi.
He actually had a few moments of brilliance, and no, I'm actually not joking. At Imola, he got his best qualifying result that year, finishing 14th, just 2 places behind Russell. But then, in the race's first lap, not only did he do this, but fellow GOAT, and apparently kamikaze Mazepin, took him out right after. But Nicholas wasn't giving up. Even though he had a terrible race pace for 8 races in a row, there were a few times he almost made it to Q2, and his big break was right around the corner.
Welcome to beautiful Budapest for the 36th Formula 1 World Championship Hungarian Grand Prix.
Up into P2 behind Lewis Hamilton, who holds on to the lead as they're 10 to down, they've touched. We've got cars all over the road and off the road there, 5 cars. We've got anomalies up and down the field. Latifi P6.
Latifi's an absolute fantastic start.
Yeah, in a chaotic race, Latifi drove like Senna.
Behind Tsunoda, Nicholas Latifi. Best ever Grand Prix finish for Nicholas Latifi. Points for the Williams team as well.
And scored the team's first points since 2019. In the next race, after qualifying 12th, he moved up to 10th, thanks to some grid penalties. And then, on Sunday, 2 races in a row scoring points. Sure, it was under some pretty specific circumstances, and sure, Russell casually finished on the podium, but the GOAT was on fire, and nothing could stop him. Well, nothing except himself. After 2 relatively impressive weekends, Latifi was back to his old self. He almost got points in Monza, but he went back to his usual tricks. And while Russell scored points a couple more times, Latifi was nowhere to be seen. His one big moment was in Interlagos, where he outqualified Russell for the first time, but that was it. Still, the team decided to keep Latifi for 2022, with Albon coming back as his teammate. And while Albon picked up some points and made a few Q3 appearances, Latifi had a crash in qualifying in Saudi Arabia.
And Latifi has stopped down at turn 13. Red flag is out.
Another crash in qualifying in Australia with fellow legend Lance Stroll.
Oh, and there's a big one, and that is Latifi. I'm afraid, again, a big moment for Nicholas Latifi.
And even a crash on the formation lap in Monaco. And many, many more mistakes. Best of them was at one of the free practice sessions of the Japanese GP, where he didn't even know where the track was going. But of course, it wasn't him.
The car, was strange.
Funnily enough, that was his best race of the year, where a gamble on a pit stop for intermediates got him his first and only points of the season. That's when he finally moved up from 21st to 20th on the grid. With all his poor performances, the safety cars and yellow flags he caused, and Williams doing better financially, the team decided to finally drop him for 2023. He ended up without a seat, and the dream was over. But did the dream really end? You probably noticed I skipped over Latifi's greatest moment in his F1 career. The moment Latifi changed F1 forever. To get there, we need to rewind to the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. It was the season finale of one of the most thrilling years ever.
Get in there, Lewis!
Yes! Great job with the strategy.
Sorry guys. Let's keep this up.
That was masterclass and you're leading the World Championship.
Just jump in on me.
Lewis, we never give up. We never give up. This is still on.
Well done, mate. That was epic.
Hamilton and Verstappen arrived at that race tied, which would decide if the Brit would get his 8th or if the Dutchman would get his first world title. When the lights went out, Hamilton quickly got past Verstappen, and even though Perez made things tough for him later on, the Brit quickly built up his lead, and with just 4 laps to go, he was about to become the first 8-time world champion in history. But suddenly...
Oh no! Nicholas Latifi has crashed, and I think that is at turn 14. That will be a safety car. And just at the back of my mind, I wonder if we're going to get any racing laps in this race.
When the championship was pretty much decided and the race hit its most boring point, Latifi came out of nowhere and gave us what's probably the most epic finale of all time.
Christian and Michael.
Yes, go ahead, Christian.
Yeah, why aren't we getting these lap cars out of the way?
Just give me, well, because Christian, just give me a second. Okay, my big one is to get this incident clear.
You only need 1 racing lap.
And coming into the pits, Max Verstappen. Hamilton stays out. Verstappen coming into the pits, and I would imagine there's a set of soft tyres waiting for him.
I can't box.
Negative.
So if there is a restart, Verstappen now has fresh soft tyres. Lewis has heavily used hard compound tyres.
All the cars ahead of you are allowed to overtake Hamilton.
Well, this is highly unusual. Not all of the cars are allowed to unlap themselves, just the 5 in between Hamilton and Verstappen. It's a really bizarre one, and it's harsh on Hamilton.
No!
Is he right behind me?
He will be. Once they've sorted out all the order. This is going to take a while to sort out.
It might be one.
With new tyres.
Copy Lewis. We would have lost track position if we had pitted.
There's confusion, but the safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. As the crowd roar the drivers on to the final lap of this race. Down the inside, Hamilton sees it coming. It's a late lunge by Verstappen, who takes the lead of the race. Verstappen now snatches the championship trophy from Lewis Hamilton. They have shared a brilliant championship battle, but the championship can only be won by one, and it's going Dutch.
Max Verstappen, you are the world champion! The world champion!
Go ahead, Toto.
You need to reinstate the lap before. That's not right.
Toto?
Yes.
It's called a motor race, okay?
Sorry?
We went to car racing.
And seriously, what driver can say they've decided a championship? But that wasn't all. While Verstappen fans were obviously hyping up Latifi, Team LH wasn't too happy, and our guy got absolutely bushed for it. The way the FIA handled that safety car was incredibly, mind-blowingly controversial, to say the least, and it led to a lot of heads rolling in the organisation. Latifi didn't just change the championship, he changed the course of the FIA itself. Without Latifi, F1 just isn't the same, and I'm personally still struggling to accept he's left us. When things got boring, you knew Latifi would come through and shake things up. A yellow flag here, a safety car there. And honestly, he seems like a genuinely nice guy, but definitely doesn't deserve one of the 20 seats in F1. Let's be serious here.
Sometimes it's a technical issue, sometimes it was an engine issue, sometimes it was Latifi.
But it's still hilarious to me how, unlike other paid drivers, we kind of all like Latifi in a weird way. He's like a cult figure who still fills the internet with memes and good vibes. There's no denying that Latifi brought plenty of laughs, and even though his F1 career was short and honestly quite horrific, he left a mark that's hard to ignore. And for Williams, well, even though he brought in a lot of cash, I don't think it ended up being worth it with the amount of cars he wrecked. When the Williams family stepped away from the team and Dorilton Capital took over, bringing in even more money, they quickly figured out that paid drivers weren't the way to go. But hey, even though it meant the end of Latifi, as they say, be glad it happened. Not sad it's over. Since I know you guys love the worst drivers who crash all over the place, and because I've been making quite a few videos about them, I've decided to create the ultimate tier list. It's where I'll rank these drivers who bring nothing but pure chaos, major headaches, and of course, a ton of memes, and came up with these categories. First, we've got, where we'll stick the drivers who are obviously bad enough to make the list, but have enough skill to not be a complete joke. Barely though. Next, we have the bad category, those drivers who are awful with zero speed, but at least haven't caused as much chaos as the others. Then there's the terrible category, for those rare few who have really created some unforgettable chaos and are completely allergic to speed. And finally, there's the Mazepin category, which, well, I think says it all. Only a handful of drivers are so ridiculously terrible that they can claim a spot here. And now, let's get serious. Kicking off the list in poor category, we've got none other than Lance Stroll. Yep, I know he's pretty awful, and if it weren't for Daddy's cash, he wouldn't even be close to Formula 1. But the thing with Stroll is, he's actually had some decent results, like a few podiums and even a pole position. And yeah, he pulled it off with some pretty good cars, of course, but hey, he had to have at least a bit of speed to get those results. And in the bad category, we've got our boy Latifi. What else can I say about him that I haven't already? I know a lot of you would put him at the bottom of the level since his controversial crashes, but the only thing keeping him from ranking even lower is that he's had a bit of pace sometimes and actually has managed to score some points. You barely made it, Nicholas. But you know who really earned their way to the terrible level, and in just 4 races? Yep, Yuji Ide. The Japanese driver is definitely one of the worst in history, nearly killing another driver, or totally embarrassing himself on the track in front of everyone. Has definitely earned him a spot in the F1 Villain Hall of Fame. But even though his pace was incredibly slow, the reason he's not ranked lower is that while he was terrible, his Super Aguri was also really bad and super hard to drive. He was always finishing dead last, but his more experienced teammate, Takuma Sato, a decent driver, was almost always second to last, proving the car was just that awful. With so few races, it's hard to judge, but honestly though, I would have fired him too. And now, the worst of the worst, the Mazepin category. Honestly, the world would have been better off if they'd never been given a steering wheel. The one who definitely deserves a spot here is Giovanna Amati. If you've watched my video on her, you know just how awful she was. Amati really brings together the worst of everything. Just like Stroll, Amati would have never been a driver without her daddy's cash. But the difference is, she never showed even the slightest bit of speed. She was terrible behind the wheel, almost took out another driver, and when she finally made it to F1, thanks to daddy's contacts and cash of course, she couldn't even qualify for any of the 3 races she entered because of how busy she was making mistakes. And yes, just like Ide, her F1 career was super short, but the mess she made over the years is enough to rank her among the worst drivers ever. And in this category, it's gotta be the guy who gave it its name, Nikita Mazepin. The Russian went the usual route of buying his F1 seat with daddy's cash, but he didn't just stop there. His whole F1 career was a non-stop drama fest from start to finish, but above all, many crashes. With the worst rookie season ever, hated by all the other drivers, and awful pace.
So what we need to do?
At this moment, I think that the most beneficial way that we can do it is by trying to make a different car for me.
Mazepin was a hazard to everyone else, and I honestly can't find a single session or race where he wasn't either messing up or crashing. And yeah, it's a level that's almost impossible to hit, but right there with Mazepin is the one and only Mahavir Raghunathan. Lord Mahavir might be the worst racer ever. The Indian driver didn't even make it to F1, luckily, but what he did leave behind is just a total mess. With a racing career that makes no sense at all, I honestly don't know how he managed to stretch it out for so long. Lord Mahavir is hands down the worst driver out of all the drivers we've seen. 0 skill, 0 speed, and 100% danger to everyone else. But hey, he's given us the best memes. Tried something new here, guys. Let me know if you enjoyed a bit more personal opinions from me, and if I should make more videos on these horrific drivers. Do you agree with the tier list? How would you rank them? I want to see yours. And yeah, I know, these videos can be a bit painful to watch, but if you want to see something with actual quality, unlike these drivers, check out this video. And as always, thank you for watching.